As you may remember from our recent wanderings in the Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis, back in the Prince Caspian book, we have Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy, the stars of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, coming back to Narnia. They're called on to save the land once again, and to do so, they must make their way to meet with Prince Caspian. There's a point on this journey where there's two paths ahead of them, one that seems easy and one that seems much more difficult. And it's at this moment that Aslan appears in the path that seems just slightly more difficult. And the thing is that only Lucy can see him. Now, Lucy's siblings and the dwarf who's been traveling with them at this point make a vote to determine which path they are to choose. And only Edmund votes to go with Lucy. So they all make the way up what seems to be the easier path, but in fact is much more difficult. And the result of this is all they can do at the end of the day is rest and get ready to plan what they're going to do next, how they're going to get back on the easier route the next morning. Now, as they sleep, Lucy hears her name being called out. And as she wakes up, she sees the trees moving, almost forming a path and direction for her. So she follows this until she sees Aslan. Aslan quickly states to her that they do not have much time, and they have wasted a great deal of the time they had today. Lucy immediately wails against her siblings for having chosen this other path. As she perceives what seems to be a slight growl coming from Aslan, she says, yes, I know I shouldn't complain about them, but they did make this terrible choice. And it's in this moment that Aslan stares straight into Lucy's eyes. And she realizes the truth that she could have gone on her own, because she wouldn't have been alone. She would have had Aslan there as a companion to comfort her. And she realizes in this moment what she must do. She must go back to her siblings and tell them that she has seen Aslan once again, and that they must follow Aslan to make their way to Prince Caspian. And if they will not follow with her, then Lucy must make this journey following Aslan alone. It is easy, even for the Lucys of this world, not to follow when needed. It's easy to look for excuses. It's easy to say, no one else is doing this, so why should I? It's even easy to say that, well, if I don't do this, then our leaders will. It's easy for us not to take responsibility when we need to. Taking responsibility is the important thing for us to do. It's what we see in our readings today. It's what we see most of all in our gospel lesson. There, the disciples asked Jesus to increase their faith, as if it was Jesus's responsibility and Jesus's responsibility alone to do so, as if they themselves were not supposed to lift up a finger. So Jesus tells them that they shouldn't need any more faith, because if they just have the faith of a mustard seed, the tiniest of seeds. And from that seed, a great tree can spring. From a faith just that small, great things can come. With just that little faith, the disciples can do and build great things. So we cannot just sit back and rely on the works of others either. When it comes to the work of faith, we all must pitch in. We must all be responsible when it comes to faith. Even if it doesn't seem like we can make it, like we can do the work, we can. Because even if our faith is just the size of a mustard seed, we can still do great things. Great things are what is required of us. We are God's servants, God's slaves, even. We do not do the work because we expect any reward. We don't do the work because we will get something out of it. In fact, even if we don't do the work, it's not like we are just shrugging our shoulders and saying, oh, well, we've just missed out on this thing. That's okay. No, we do the work, not because of what we get out of it, but because we are called to do it. We are called to do the work God has given us to do. And we're called to respond when the Lord cries out to us. We are called to respond to the Lord with our task, not because of what we can gain, but because it is what we are supposed to do. Now, this path isn't meant to be easy. As we learn from 2 Timothy, as that epistle reminds us, there will be suffering along the way. We don't do the work because of the hardships or even the lack of pain that might be there. We do the work because it is serving our Lord. We do the work because it is worthwhile. It can be easy for us to think that somebody else will go out and do the work of ministry instead of us. It's easy to think that that work should be laid on the shoulders of our ordained people, or at the very least, our hard-working and dedicated lay leadership. If we rely on just a few, though, the work will not get done. There's not enough time and energy for just one, even just a few people to do all the work. You already have everything you need to do the work of faith, the work that God has given for all of us to do. Jesus has told you this already. Jesus tells you in our gospel, even this morning, that you have everything in your power, everything that you need to do the work of faith. Your leaders, ordained and otherwise, are not the only ones called to service. You are too. If you think this work will be easy, then you're sorely mistaken. But we don't do the work because it'll be hard or easy. We do the work because it is worthwhile. We do the work because that is what God has called us to do. Don't be fooled into thinking that you don't have a part, a responsibility in serving God in the church. You do. Whether lay or ordained, God has given us a task to do. God has given us a role in this work we have together. Now it's your job to go out there and do it.